Welcome to the True Wealth Investors Real Estate Podcast. Creative investing strategies to help you build true wealth. I'm your host, Chad Harris. I think I may not fully be out of vacation mode. I'm not 100%, but we're trying. So, all right. So the slow BRRRR method, we're going to talk about that tonight. And I don't know how many years ago it was that it was given this process was given an acronym.
Yeah.
But yeah, people have been doing it for years and years and years, long before there was an acronym or a book. All right. But it's a great way to build a rental portfolio. And just for perspective on this, because a lot of people, I feel like, with rising interest rates, are kind of sitting on the sidelines and saying, well, I'd like to buy rentals, but I'm going to wait until interest rates come down. Or I'd like to do the BRRRR strategy, but the numbers just don't work anymore. And so I need to wait for interest rates to drop, and then it'll make sense again. All right. So in Ohio, home prices, this is just in Ohio, home prices rose on average 6.8% last year. So that means if our target house, let's say our target deal was $100,000, beginning of last year, by the end of the year, we would have to pay $107,000 for that same house. Right? This year, it's going to go up to maybe 115. All right. And the point of bringing this up is that the entire time we are sitting on the sidelines waiting, we are actually losing ground. And so I would argue that now is the best time to get in. Now is when we need to buy, because if we sit on the sidelines, it's only going to get worse. So what are some predictions of what will happen when interest rates fall, when the monthly payment goes down and people can afford more house? There's a really good likelihood that the prices that people are willing to pay will go up because their payment can afford more house. So if we're sitting on the sidelines, we're really going to lose ground. We need to figure out a way to be successful now. So why is the slow BRRRR so popular, and BRRRR in general even? The main reason is because you don't have to have any money to use it. And if you have enough money, whatever your source is, but you get access to enough money for one BRRRR deal, you can build a portfolio of 100 rentals, right? You are able to recycle the money over and over and over again. And so you really don't need a lot of money or a lot of lenders or access to a lot of money to build a large portfolio. So here's the quick acronym, if anybody doesn't know. I'm going to bet you all do know, but real quick. So the BRRRR acronym stands for buy. We're going to buy a distressed property. We're going to rehab that property and bump up the value, right? Make that property worth more money. We're going to rent the property to a good qualified candidate and then refinance the property and repeat. So the key to successfully doing the BRRRR strategy is that when we refinance, we pull out all of the money that we put into it. All right. It definitely doesn't need to be our own money, but whoever's money we're using, all of it should come back out in the refinance so that we can use it again. So if we're trying to save money for 20% down, or we're leaving money in the deal because when we refinance, we don't get all of our money back, we really can't do that many deals because sooner or later we run out of money. However, if we're able to get all of our money back on the refinance, then that's a sustainable model that you can just keep recycling through deal after deal after deal. All right. That's why people love the BRRRR strategy. That's why I was able to build a portfolio of rentals without a job and without having any savings, because I could raise the money for the purchase and rehab. And when I refinanced, I got all of that money back. and could use it on the next deal. Now, the problem people are having today is that on that refinance, with interest rates high, or at least higher than they've been in recent history, a lot of people are struggling to find deals that cash flow on the refinance, right? And we're gonna, when we buy a BRRRR deal, we have to know our numbers and what the cash flow will be after the refinance. So that's why I really like the slow BRRRR right now. So with the slow BRRRR, we're gonna do the same process. We're going to buy the property, rehab the property, rent it out, but then we're going to wait to refinance. So the Fed has already said they want to lower interest rates. We know that's what they're working to do. They don't know the timeline yet. It could start later this year. It could take a year, 2 years to lower interest rates to their target. And so it's really not ideal to refinance right now, knowing that interest rates are going to drop, right? But with a slow BRRRR, we can have low interest, long-term financing for that purchase and rehab, and then we can leave it in place for 2 years or more. So we can wait out the Fed until interest rates drop. So we're buying the property and locking it in at today's price, but then we get to wait until interest rates are better for that long-term financing. And there's a lot of benefits to that. So is the BRRRR strategy dead? This is a house I went to look at the other day. No, just kidding. It's just a picture of a house, but I've looked at some that were about as ugly. So a lot of people are saying that you can't do the BRRRR strategy anymore, or you can't do it in this market because we have rising interest rates, and rates can go either way, but right now it's projected rates are going to go down, but we do have rising home prices, right? And so with the rising home prices and current high interest rates, that's what makes it difficult to cash flow the properties. And then we don't really know where the market's going. I mean, even in the last week, a lot of things changed with the market and political landscape. So I don't like really basing my business on uncertainty and waiting. I want to try to be successful today. So if we can do the BRRRR strategy, the real benefits are we can build equity. Inherently, as soon as we finish that rehab, we are going to have 25 to 30% equity in the property. If you're building a portfolio of rentals and all of your rentals have 30% equity, when you refinance them and then it goes up from there because the property values rise, that's a really good way to build a portfolio of rentals. We're holding the property over time, so we get all the tax benefits of ownership. We lock in prices now. And with private money, the money that we're borrowing for that purchase and rehab is not rate dependent. So we can raise money from private lenders still at 6%. And if the Fed raises rates or lowers rates, that doesn't really affect what we have to pay our private lenders. So they are happy with 6%. So what that means is that if we understand how to structure these deals, we can go ahead and get good deals today, knowing that the long-term, the really long-term financing will work out in the future. And so right now there's less competition because you have a whole bunch of people that discount BRRRR strategy or BRRRR deals right now because they're basing their purchase price on current interest rates when they refinance. Because most people, when they do the BRRRR strategy, they have to refinance within 6 to 12 months. So a lot of people are using hard money for the purchase, which is expensive up front, and it's short term. So interest rates are not going to change very much by the time they refinance. And so the numbers aren't going to work for them. If we're buying with inexpensive money to fund the deal up front, and we have access to that money for years and can wait to refinance, we're going to get better deals than they are. All right. So the key really is having access to that money for multiple years so that we can wait for interest rates to go down. And in actuality, we're going to cash flow really well for those 2 years or 3 years or however long we leave that money in place. So it's kind of a win-win. You cash flow really well before the refinance and you wait for interest rates to go down and then you refinance in the future. Here's a real quick example. This is a little ugly 3-unit in Moraine, purchased for $58,000. Rents weren't 1950 when we bought it, but we just slowly upgraded the rents. So it fit once we had upgraded rents and just done some painting and little minor repairs. It fit the 3% rule. And we funded it with a loan from a private lender at 6% interest only. And it was originally 2 years. It can be extended. So our financing was $290 a month, and we could just wait until we wanted to refinance it. Our cash flow was great with the money from the private lender, and we already did refinance this property, but once we did refinance it, the cash flow was still good. All right. So, but that private lender, we had access to that money indefinitely. So if something happened in the market and we chose not to refinance it, we would have left it at 6% interest only. We just happened to time it right where we could refinance this one. So we got 77,000 in equity, and I'd say pretty good cash flow on that. So what are the target numbers we're looking for on a BRRRR deal? Generally, we're going to use the purchase and rehab needs to be less than 70% of the ARV, or the ARV is after repair value. So once that property is fixed up and we've increased the value, we need to only put 70% of that increased value into the purchase and rehab. And that is just like the numbers on a flip. So there are still people doing flip deals right now. If in your head you think, oh, that's great, how would I ever find a deal that matches these numbers? These deals happen all of the time. Okay. And the key, the reason you want to have it less than 70% of ARV is so that when you refinance, you can get all of your money back. If the lender you're going to eventually use on the refinance goes up to 80% loan to value and you want to, then you could do purchase and rehab up to 80% of ARV. It's just we need to make sure we're getting all of our money back out when we refinance. And then the other metric is that we want to cash flow 100 to 300 per door. And we have to figure that on the end financing on the BRRRR deal. So once we refinance, but with a slow BRRRR, we need to be able to cash flow on the initial financing as well. But if we're doing 6% or 7% interest only, that's not going to be a problem. You're going to cash flow well in those years before you refinance. All right. So is the BRRRR strategy beneficial? Pros and cons. I like a good pro and con sheet, right? So some pros. There's low or no money invested. So you really don't need to have any money to start doing these deals. I didn't have any money when I started. I raised all of the money. You get to build equity very quickly. It's a great way to begin to build wealth. So if every property, every BRRRR deal that you do, you add 30,000 in equity, let's say, it really doesn't take that many deals before you start building wealth. There's very low to no tax consequence. So when you do refinance, a lot of times you can get money out in that cash out refinance, and that money is tax free. You can get fast money at the refinance. So when I was building my portfolio and didn't have a job, that was the money I lived off of, was those bonuses when I refinanced a property. And you can create passive income, which is what we're all after, right? Long-term income that just keeps coming in each month. Some cons, it's a slow process, so it involves a rehab. It's not real fast. Um, there's not big chunks of fast cash, so it's not like a flip where you're suddenly going to have $30,000 or $50,000 immediately in your account, and you're going to have to be able to manage contractors because we have to do a rehab to increase the value of the property. And so either we're going to be doing the work ourselves or we have to be able to manage others that are going to be doing the work. So there are a few cons, like anything. For me, I like the pros and I figure out how to manage the cons. If we compare it to a flip, because really our numbers are the same. So the neighborhoods could be different if we're doing a BRRRR deal or a flip deal, but our target numbers are the same. We're going to be all in at less than 70% of the after repair value. And so with the BRRRR strategy, we aren't going to have much money in. Same with a flip. We should be able to get most of the money for that flip deal. If we're using hard money, usually a hard money lender is going to expect us to have some money in, skin in the game. With a BRRRR strategy, we build equity. With the flip strategy, you also build equity, right? You're increasing the value of that property with the rehab. It's just that you cash out on that equity when you sell the property. So with the flip, you're going to cash out your equity and get cash at the sale. With the BRRRR strategy, you can get some cash when you refinance, but you're going to leave a lot of equity in that deal with the property. With the BRRRR strategy, we keep ownership. We have all the tax benefits. Really have very little tax to pay. With a flip, we sell ownership, give up ownership, and that is taxed at a high rate. And then with the BRRRR strategy, over time, we build cash flow. Flip, obviously, there's no cash flow. It's a quick deal. We make our cash and move on. BRRRR strategy has passive income over time. And you may keep working on property after property after property, and it'll feel like you're working just as hard as somebody doing flip after flip after flip. But the benefit is that over time, you are stacking those monthly rental payments. And so you'll end up in the long term having passive income and much more income from those deals. At flip, if we do flips, it's active income. So as long as we're working, we make money. When we stop working, we go on vacation, we don't make money. Much different business model. And it's not that one's right or one's wrong, but they both lead to two separate outcomes. And we need to make sure we're matching our investing style to our goals. So if we want to build wealth and passive income, flipping is not what's going to do it. However, if we want quick cash to pay off debt or get into bigger deals, then a flip is the way to do it. All right. And then the BRRRR strategy works with houses or apartments. It is exactly the same. Mike Fry spoke, I believe that was just last month, on doing apartment deals without your own money. Cassidy Hellrigel spoke on here about 2 years ago on how to do BRRRR deals with large apartment buildings, and he's built up a huge portfolio of apartments using this same strategy. So don't get in the mindset that the BRRRR strategy only works for single family homes or smaller deals. It's the same concept for large deals. Here's a real quick one. And in this one, we made money when we purchased the property. So property, this is on Siebenthaler. Purchased and rehabbed at 48,000. The loan we got from our private lender was 60,000. So when we purchased the property, we got 12,000. That is long-term financing. And so we're going to sit on this long-term financing and leave it until interest rates drop, and then we'll refinance it out with long-term financing. So you can see that our current loan at 60,000, the after repair value was 90,000. That's low now, but we're at less than 70% of the ARV. I believe that's right around 66% of ARV. I'm no math whiz, but that's what I think it is. Some ways to make the BRRRR strategy better. Do interest-only payments so you can get more cash flow. A lot of times you can do with your initial financing no payments so that you have good cash flow till you refinance. We can get 70% up front so that we make money when we buy the house, like that deal I just talked about. And if we're at, let's say we're at 70% loan to value on the front end, and then we refinance at 75% loan to value, we can actually make money when we purchase the property and make money when we refinance the property. So there are some creative ways to be able to make money from this. If we improve our management, then that's going to increase our NOI, especially on multifamily deals. If you increase the NOI, that's going to bump up the value. And so if you're doing 5 units or larger, let's say on an apartment deal, you don't even have to work on the property. You don't have to manage contractors. You just have to improve management. And by increasing the net operating income, or NOI, you'll increase the value of that property. If you market for deals on your own, you're going to get much better purchase prices, and you'll get just better deals, right? If you have a really low purchase price, it's easier to make it a good deal. And if you want to do some of the work yourself, you're going to cut the rehab costs and build in some sweat equity. This is a recent deal Jim did. He's a GD RIA member. If you guys know him, we've been working together for a while. And a deal he recently did, he funded the full purchase and rehab with a private lender at 6% interest only. That it was low because he got a good price. It was a low loan to value. So he has no payment on that loan for 1 year. So his cash flow is great for 1 year. At the end of that 1 year, if interest rates haven't dropped and he doesn't want to refinance with a bank, that loan can be extended with his lender. And so he'll just continue with very high cash flow until he's ready to refinance with a bank. So he didn't have to use any of his own money. He has great cash flow now, and he's going to wait until he has good interest rates long term to refinance, so he has good cash flow long term. All right, that is the BRRRR strategy and slow BRRRR strategy. We are adding new episodes every week, so make sure and subscribe and check out all of our content at truewealthinvestors.com.